So, Mark, I've been meaning to speak to you for a very long time. It's finally happening. You have a very interesting background. I want us to jump right straight into it. I want you to tell me what it is you actually do.
This is actually a question that I get quite often. But on paper, I am a platform data engineer. And that basically, if you put it very simply, is essentially creating infrastructure that can facilitate moving data from one space to the next, whether that is the extraction, the transformation and loading of the data. You get your set of requirements and you try to build something that can scale well, firstly, has the level of data governance that is needed, and to make sure that the data is actually accurate. And, we're living in a world where data is currency. So I think the need for data engineers is actually quite up there. And I don't think a lot of people actually know that it's actually a career that you can go into.
But for the person out there, what makes you different from a data analyst? You tell me all the time that I am not a data analyst. I want you to explain that clearly and very simply, that distinction.
Data analysis is very rooted in finding out what is happening and figuring out how that happened. So a lot of actual analysis happening with the data. A data engineer sort of facilitates that sort of analysis. So you're there basically responsible for getting them the source data that they need as accurately as possible, making sure that the flow for that is always there. They shouldn't be running around asking, where's this data? They're just there to essentially help the business make better decisions in the future. We don't necessarily make the decisions for them, but we help facilitate the necessary infrastructure that they need to be able to make those decisions.
In terms of availability of opportunities, is this role a role that exists in a lot of companies? What would you say is available out there for a data engineer versus a data analyst?
It's interesting because a data engineer works with the foundations of data, right? It helps you understand the fundamentals and really gets into the deeper parts of the data. It's a lot more than, I guess, just plotting data somewhere and trying to show the business that this is what it is. But it's also understanding things like metadata and what it actually tells you about the business. So if you're in a data engineering role, you could easily pivot into something else like a data science role or like a data analysis role. So there's a lot of opportunity based on just having the data engineering background. But yes, I'm not sure that all companies have it, but I know that there is currently a big need to be able to build reliable systems and reliable pipelines that can take data from one place to the next.
Tell me about what you studied and how you ended up choosing data engineering in the first place.
Yeah, so I think this is also a very interesting one. So when I started studying, and I studied at Stellenbosch University, I came in studying mathematical science with a focal area in computer science. And my thing is I've always wanted to do a lot in the world. So I've never had one specific thing that I wanted to do, but I've always had like an affinity towards technology and computers. So I knew somehow I'd end up in the realm there. But now for me, I didn't know that computer science at that point in time, they didn't have like a pure computer science field. Was mathematical science would mostly be math. And for me personally, I was never bad at math, but university math took me out. So and it was a choice because it was actually affecting like my mental health, I would say. Like I was really feeling bad about myself all the time. And to get through these things, you need confidence, you need motivation. And if you're always like performing under the level that you expect yourself, like computer science itself, I was passing, but the math was keeping me back. And I didn't know about any other ways that you could get into computers. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that information systems was a thing. So that's when I learned about information systems, and I had to pivot, had the conversations with my family and essentially pivoted towards information systems. But it's such an interdisciplinary space where like you're mixing a bit of computer science, a bit of like computer engineering or software engineering, but also data stuff. You're doing cybersecurity stuff. There's so many different routes you can go within information systems. And when I learned about that, I was like, okay, so there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to get to that end result, right? And at some point I thought I was going to go into like web development or UI UX design. I really have a passion for learning how people perceive things and the psychology behind why people tend to not scroll down, for instance. So I thought that was going to be me for the longest time. And then we had this block where, because I did my honors in information systems as well, we had this block where we were really focused on making useful inferences, I want to say, from data. So we kind of studied a bit of like educational data in South Africa and tried to figure out why a lot more girls don't finish school compared to males, whereas a lot of girls start with school. So we were trying to figure out and I really enjoyed getting my hands on the data. So I first thought data analysis, and it was through speaking to other people that I actually figured out that data engineering was actually an option for me. And yeah, here I am.
I want you to tell us about the emotions of that time and, the practical. What did that mean for your academic year? Did you have to, stay in school a year longer? Take us through what that process looked like. Did you have to speak to the dean? Like, what was that process for someone who's out there thinking, I maybe need to consider a different course of study?
Yeah, no. So when I finished school, right, I was on the high of like, I'm brilliant. Like, like I was passing with distinctions, and you get to university and it's such a culture shock because now suddenly heavier workload, harder work. And it's like, who am I? And for a lot of us, I think we find a lot of validation in our academic selves, like how much I can perform academically that informs you about like who I am and what I'm capable of as a person. And it was really a point where I truly learned resilience and grit because, if I have to be honest with you, that there was modules that I was failing. So what was I going to do? Like, it was either you stick to this because you so truly believe that this is the path, or you pivot to something that you could also be good at. And I think there's no shame in that, really. At the time, it did feel like I was failing myself. This is the first time I'm ever failing in my life. And like, this is not great. So, I actually did extend my degree. So the next year I did like a general degree, like a BCom general, which is when I got into information systems and then basically just pivoted into that. And because I then had the BCom modules, it was easier to just do that. But yeah, no, I think it's a lot of emotional weight. There's the disappointment that comes with it. I had the set way of how my life was going to go, and it's not that anymore. So it's really, I guess, taking the lemons, making lemonade, and then somehow looking back, reflecting and thinking that you came out better on the other side, firstly, because you learned that resilience and grit, which is very necessary in any space that you're in, whether that's personal or professional. But also you picked up so many different skills along the way, which can be applied in this new like way forward for yourself. So I think it really is perspective mostly, and then regaining that confidence. But yeah, it's never easy.
Certainly, I think there is much to be said about having experienced failure at a point in your life and success later on, because I think looking now, you couldn't have told me that you were the person who, failed first year, 100%. Because you're so successful and good at what you do today. You're good at what you do today, and you add so much value to your team. So beyond that lesson of resilience, you also picked up other lessons along the way. You took on interesting jobs. Tell me about those jobs and how they have shaped the person that you are today.
Yeah, so I had a lot of holiday jobs, right? And it mostly became like a thing where I believe that you need to try your hand at something first before you hate on it, which is funny because I do actively have such strong opinions on things. Yeah. But I've worked in like a techie town, which is, I think, retail. Anybody that's worked in retail, you'll know that customers can be difficult. But exactly that is what I learned there, is customers can be difficult. People are very different, but everybody has a need that needs to be met. Yeah. And that's what everything comes down to. Any business that you go into, there's a need, there's a requirement for something, and you're going to face so many different types of personalities to get there, and there's going to be obstacles. But at the end of the day, you're trying to, I think, close that deal. You're trying to meet that need, right? And that's what I learned at Techie Town is, firstly, no one's going to help you or like explain their requirement differently just because you don't understand it the way that they're saying it. But you're going to have to go the extra mile to sort of find out how you can meet this person's need. And then I also had a job where I was making gin. So I wasn't the main distiller. I think it's what you call the master distiller. Yeah. But I basically facilitated classes where I teach people how to make gin at like a popular gin place. It was just a really great opportunity that I got by, really just sold on charisma itself because I don't drink. And that was also something really funny because I have no experience in what things are supposed to taste like. But you can get away with a lot if you just know the notes and, kind of the science behind things. So I was able to teach people stuff. So I think that's what really informed a lot of like confidence in publicly speaking and trying to basically convey ideas the simplest that you can, because you're trying to make things fun, and you really have to improvise and treat different groups of people differently. So I think the biggest thing that I learned was people skills in these various very miscellaneous jobs that I've once held.
And I mean, those skills are very important for your line of work today, because a lot of the work we do in corporate is really just people. Yeah. It comes down to that and 100%. Explaining ideas, just like you're saying. So that is also quite interesting. That those are the things that you picked up. Something else that's quite interesting is we have a data engineer who can sing.
That's actually overkill, but yeah, no, I do make music in my personal time, and I know a lot of people see it as a hobby. For me, it's a passion. Like it's so close to my heart. I think music is such a different way of telling a story and meeting people where they are. Yeah. And yeah, I think it makes people relate to it, and for them, it makes them feel that they're not alone. But in many ways, it makes me feel like I'm not alone because I get to see that there's people that relate to things that might feel very isolated to me. So yeah, I do sing. I used to be part of the university choir. Stellenbosch choir used to be the #1 in the world. world. I think they've moved down the ranking, not because I left. No, I'm joking. But no, brilliant. And I think it really trained my ear and really just trained my respect for what people can do with their voices.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that because I think when often we think about people in technology, we just think of a certain character who doesn't have hobbies, possibly. Their only hobby is computers. So I thought it was important to highlight that you are someone who is extremely good at what you do, but you also have other talents and interests. Tell me about that. Tell me why it's important for you to stretch beyond your day-to-day job.
Yeah, I think it was really important for me to diversify myself in different areas. I've always been someone that sees myself as a creator firstly, but also someone with like a lot of technical skill. So I've never wanted to do just one or the other. So I think it's really important for me to keep growing in both areas. So yeah, I think it comes sort of naturally to me to want to like switch between the two all the time. Like I can't stay on just every day I'm just waking up and coding, or every day I'm just waking up and just analyzing this data, or it can't be that for me. So yeah, I need to have balance.
You started your current role through a contracting firm. Tell us about that journey, what you learned there, and how is this a path that a lot of people can take to get to a data engineer role in a corporate?
Yeah, I do think firstly, yes, especially if you don't have a job as of yet, I think contracting houses are quite brilliant for bringing in a lot of various different talents. And the nice thing about them is that they sort of vet you before the company takes you on. So you don't have that extreme like level of people trying to like see you, who you are and what you're capable of when you're joining corporate. While I was in honors, I applied for jobs, I guess, as everybody does. And I came across this contracting house and they were looking for data engineers, which at first I didn't know was possible for me. But I spoke to some other people and they also went through the information systems route. And I was like, okay, cool, maybe let's try this. And I interviewed and magically got the job, which was great. And they actually upskilled me for 3 months before I actually started at my first client, which ended up being the client that took me over. So I learned cloud technologies, more data work, because obviously when you study university degree, you'll know, but it's very broad, it's very general, and you sort of have to delve deep into a specific area if you really want to specialize in something. So they really sort of took care of that gap that I had between, I guess, being a data engineer and just someone that knows about data. So when I came in, I obviously had a lot of support from their side, a lot of mentorship sessions where they would then try and upskill you in things that you don't feel confident about. Maybe also check in on your personal life if you're doing well, because juggling two companies at the same time can be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And you have to report to so many different people on both sides of the company. So your manager here, but also the person back at the contracting house. And then I was able to sort of, I guess, prove myself in a way that felt, that I guess made the corporate that I work for now feel like I was a good fit. So then I was blessed enough to then being offered a position at this current company.
I want you to tell us about what in the process do you think made you stand out as a candidate? How would you advise other people out there wanting to get into a data engineering role? How can they stand out in the recruitment process?
Always trying to solve the problem. Even if you don't know the answer to the question that they're asking, you can be honest about that, but this is what I do think and this is why I think it. Because I've spoken to the people that have interviewed me and I've asked them these questions, and it's interesting because something that they keep bringing up is the fact that even if I didn't know something, I still try to answer it to the best of my ability, and I try to explain my thought process or my train of thought as to how I got to that point, right? The worst thing that you can do is nothing. I always say that, like, and in many cases this might not apply, but I think just, I don't know this, well then, I don't know this. But I think people want to see someone that actively tries, someone that has charisma. Like, I'm not talking about you having to be extroverted, but you need to be able to speak to people because a lot of your work is going to come from following a requirement. That is something that helped me, I guess, close the deal is trying to be a people's person, trying to understand the why and not just delve into the solution, but why do we need this? Why exactly? What are you going to do with this? And I think that informs how you approach a solution. So yeah, always try and approach a solution, try and explain why you think this might work. That's the best that you can, I guess, do, because you're not going to know everything. Coming out of university, there's so much that you don't know that you'll only pick up while doing it. So yeah, I think people want to see tenacity, they want to see resilience, and they want to see someone that thinks creatively.
Tell me about a career in tech that you wouldn't take.
IT auditing. I want to have that on record. If anybody's watching this and I ever apply for a job in IT auditing, please give me the job. But no, I cannot. That probably, and cybersecurity. I've never been interested in like networking like that, which is
Okay.
interesting because like when you put up a lot of cloud infrastructure, you do actually need some sort of networking knowledge. But I would never want to be in penetration testing or ethical hacking or testing if people's systems are working so that we can audit them. Not my line of work, eh? Like, seriously.
You know what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to say, I'm never going to be a BA.
No, I can understand that as your business requirement document, anything like that. I do like making my own documentation, but having to like source from different people, not for me also. But I would do that actually. It's not like the worst thing I think for me. IT auditing is really up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. Now, if you were to advise someone out there, what would you say to them who is maybe in a grad or thinking about studying information systems at university?
Information systems is a great choice. I want to say it opens you up to so much. And I think it's very underrated. Also, I think people always think it's computer science or nothing at all. I learned how to code obviously in computer science, but I mean, you have coding there. I did a web app. I did a mobile app in information systems. Depends on where you take it also, but you learn such a wide set of skills to a point where it's almost full stack. I want to say, because you get to touch the data, you get to touch the cybersecurity portions, you touch the app portions, the back end, the front end. So yeah, I think diversify yourself as much as you can. And I'm not saying that from just like a professional perspective, but do things that people wouldn't normally do. I think it gives you such an interesting perspective on things. It helps you interact with people that you wouldn't normally interact with. I think it builds that network for you. It helps you make gin even though you don't drink. So I think having so many different types of experiences and bringing that together is what makes you unique, firstly, because having the degree is like, it's basic, bare minimum requirement, right? So I think it's that. I think it's learning to speak. I don't think a lot of people know how to speak in a way that gets the point across. It's being friendly, it's being kind, it's being respectful. I also think it's putting in the time after hours, not everything you're going to learn in school. And for me, something that I used to do was, I would be on social media a lot, right? So I would start following pages that gives tutorials on certain things that I don't work on. Yeah. So it would open up my mind to keywords and stuff. So when people speak of something like, oh, I've heard about that. So where have then you can relate it to certain things. So you're not going to know everything. It's impossible to know everything from the get-go. But something I would like to leave people with is something that someone once told me at the gym place that I was working at. Actually, funny enough, she said, nothing is hard. It's just new. And I take that everywhere I go. It's like, this is obviously not going to be easy the first time I see it, but the next time it'll be easier than the first time I saw it. So it's not hard. It's new. And yes, things are hard. I mean, I'm not going to become a brain surgeon in the next 2 years, but it's even for the people that are brain surgeons now, the first time they saw it, it's hard. The next time it's not. And the next time it's even less until it's second nature for you. And then the next person be like, I don't know how you do that, but you have to take the first step. Yeah. That's the main thing. Mm-hmm.
But where to from here, Lamarck? You know, this is such a big question, I know, but from data engineer, where to?
Yeah, no. So I think for me, it's important to learn. I think it's important to upskill. So I'm trying to like really get my foundations as strong as possible. Next up, it's probably like president. I'm not going to lie. No, I'm joking. No, I'm not sure as of yet. I think for me, I'm very early in my career. I've only worked for like 2 years now. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to try my hand at as many things as possible so I know what I don't like and that I know what I do like and I know where my strengths are and I know what I need to work on. Because you're not going to be good at everything the first time, as I just said. But yeah, I don't know, Lan. There's so many things I want to do. I want to blow glass. I want to make chocolates. I want to make my own phone one day. You never know where you might see me next. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But no, I definitely want to be in a role where I'm able to also, I think, pass down a lot of what I've learned. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, what's the point gatekeeping all of this stuff? Yeah. You know, if you can make it easier for the next person, why not?
Yeah. My final question to you, if it wasn't this, what else would it be?
Music, definitely. Like I would probably be in the studio like all the time. Yeah. I don't find as much time now, which is really discouraging. And it takes a while for you to really get into the creative space sometimes. But yeah, no, it would be me layering vocals somewhere, writing on something, probably 24/7, going for lunches at the beach. I don't know. But it would probably be something a bit more creative. Not that I would never want to work on stuff. Even when I wasn't like working it, I would make Instagram filters to promote my music and then ask people to use the filter. So there was always like a technical element. I produce a lot of my own music as well. So there's always something technical there. But yeah, probably music. I think that's where my heart is truly just, I feel it does feel like I put in something, but it doesn't feel like work. There's no expectation really. So I think it's really that.
Yeah. Tell people where they can find your music.
Spotify. Apple Music, any streaming service you have, actually. My name is Lamarck, LE space MARC, and you should find my music there. Pop music, there's a bit of like R&B-esque music. But yeah, I think there's something for everyone, and yeah, I should be releasing more stuff soon, so.
Yeah. Close us off with a little something.
Father Jakob. Now I'm joking. What am I singing?
Give me something really quick on the spot.
That's so difficult. I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so special about that place. Yeah, that's quick enough.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, Lamarck.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm such a fan of Kinsani, guys. Like, I always watch your TikToks. I'm on the lives. I'm just like you guys watching. So being asked to be here is an honor. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You're such a professional. I'm sorry that the weather conditions was not playing along today, but you're a star and inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. More of Lamarck to come, for sure.